Chapter 9, Asperger's Syndrome. That Saturday afternoon, Dad and Grandma dropped Ben off at Andy's house and went to visit the doctor on their own. They had to wait a long time in the waiting room, and Dad was already cranky when he finally sat in the doctor's office. What he heard next didn't make him any happier. Asperger's Syndrome? What on earth is Asperger? It sounds like a vegetable, Dad snapped at the doctor. Grandma gave him a look to tell him to behave. It's caused by a problem in the brain. It makes people think and act differently from others, the doctor explained as nicely as he could, scratching at his beard as he spoke. Dad grunted. Well, that's Ben all right. He certainly thinks differently from me and everyone else, he added. Exactly. People with Asperger's have problems with relating to others. They find it hard to understand what other people are thinking or feeling. And it is hard for them to say what they are thinking or feeling. When they explain things to you, they may leave out important bits out. Often they find something that really interests them and they become little geniuses in that area and will tell you about that topic over and over and over again. Computers, Grandma and Dad yelled together. Exactly, the doctor agreed. Asperger children usually hate large groups, like in organized sport, especially team sports. Dad nodded sadly. I'd love him to play soccer, but he's not interested. Think of it this way, Mr. Jones, the doctor explained. Imagine if you couldn't kick a ball very well, and you were put into the middle of a group of kids who yelled at you, called you names, and rushed around so you forgot who was there where. Imagine you couldn't remember who was on which team anyway because they changed every day. How would you feel? Terrible, Dad admitted. That's how life is for Ben every day, full of rules he doesn't understand, people with moods he doesn't understand, who use language he doesn't understand. He's like a visitor on a new planet every day of his life. The fact that he has one very good friend is wonderful because Asperger children can find it hard to make friends. They are often very lonely little people. Dad and Grandma were quiet for a while, trying to imagine how life was for Ben. So how can we help him? Grandma finally asked. Well, unfortunately, it's not something that you can cure with medicine, the doctor said, and it's not something that he will outgrow. He will always have Asperger's syndrome. Oh, great, Dad sighed. The doctor smiled sadly. You say great, but you really mean it's not great. If you say that to Ben, he will not understand you. People with Asperger's find it hard to understand sarcasm, too. So what can we do? Dad asked. You're already doing a lot of things to help him without realizing it. You have let him follow his interests. You have encouraged his friendship with Andy. You try to explain things to him as much as you can when he is upset. Dad coughed. Well, Grandma is a lot better than I am at that, he admitted. But you're a good father, Mr. Jones, and I can see that you love your son very much. If you try to understand how he looks at life, then you'll find that it is easier to cope with his bad times as well as his good ones. It's not easy to understand Ben, doctor, but I try, but it's not easy. I know, but you only have one kid that's hard to understand. Ben finds it hard to understand everybody. Here, the doctor gave Grandma and Dad lots of papers to read and the phone number of an Asperger support group. Sometimes it helps to talk to others with children similar to yours. And don't worry too much. Everyone is a bit different in their own way. Ben is a very special child with very special talents all on his own. When you start to understand how he sees the world, you will learn that seeing things differently from others is not such a bad thing. Dad and Grandma were very quiet in the car on the way home. Dad finally said, well, you were right, Mom. He does need some help. I think we all need a little help for a little while until we get used to the idea. It will be the best for him, though, for us to understand Asperger's better. He's a pretty good kid when you think about it, Dad said. Imagine having to cope with everything all these years, and we didn't know. Yes, Grandma said, he's a good kid. He's a very special kid.